Hello, coders. Hello, coders. Hello. Welcome to podcast episode number 211. It is December the 14th, 2024. And today we're going to do like a year in review. And I've also got some takes on what might happen in web development in 2025. That's what we're going to be focusing on today. Before we get into all of this, let me just do the usual housekeeping. This is completely and utterly live. I have two English Springer Spaniels who like to bark at the neighbours as well as delivery drivers. And being that it is the Christmas period, predict that this is going to happen today. So I may have to pause the stream if that happens, and I do apologise. You won't get this on the audio version, the barking. I'll try my best to edit all of this out. But an important note to mention, whilst at this point of the stream, I should say that I'm kicking myself really, because what I have done in the past say 5 streams, is this has been members only chat, which is great. Because it means that I'm not having to deal with silly chat bots who are telling me how useless I am. I don't need people to tell me that. I already know. And also, I've been putting the live stream to community members only as soon as, or a few hours after it goes live. And that is killing the the viewing numbers, because what's happening, you see, is everyone gets a notification before this goes live, because I schedule it probably half an hour to an hour before I go live, and then I'm live and people come in and go and whatnot, and then after it goes live I then set it to be members only. So then when people do access this, they're like, oh, because I'm not a member, I'm not going to watch it. And then when I do set it to go public again, nobody receives any more notifications. So what I've decided is, going forward, this is going to be community members only chat. That's still going to happen. But as soon as this finishes live, I'm just going to put it public. Like it is at the minute, which means that there is going to be a bit of a delay between actually getting this out in the audio form. I was using that period of time for me to edit the thing and then put it to members only and whatnot. So this isn't going to be a members only live stream anymore for a period of time. It's just going to be public, which is, it's fine. It's fine. So I just wanted to mention that. Right. So let's start by doing a little bit of a year in review, because we are at the end of the year, and 2024 has been an interesting one for How to Code Well in several reasons. There was a period of time this year where I literally did not touch How to Code Well. This whole thing wasn't being touched, and you may have seen videos going out that had already been produced and scheduled up, but in terms of where my head was, it wasn't a priority. Life happened and I needed to take some time off, so there was a big chunk of time of the year where I didn't do anything, and also I was busy working myself as a contractor, and then moving on through the year, there was a big period of time where I didn't do any contracting work. And I was focusing on, I think probably in the last 2, maybe 3 months, I've been focusing solidly on How to Code Well. So this is why we're seeing more of a ramp up of content being added, and I'll mention all of that later. But one of the biggest things that have happened this year has been the build of howtocodewell.net, the website, which I am going to show off now, the website itself. The website, howtocodewell.net, I'm going to plug this as many times as I can today, is the website where I'm going to put all of my content, all of the How to Code Well content, including tutorials, articles, podcasts, and courses, right? And we started the year off, or we started this process off by taking a look at some of my courses that are on on the web, on the YouTubes, setting them to be members only, and then having them on the website as premium courses for people to purchase. So we have the PHP MySQLi, PHP Control Structures, Linux Bash for Beginners, and PHP CLI Basics. But if I go to the courses page itself, we have PHP Strings for Beginners, HTML for Beginners, and Docker for Beginners. And if you go through the back catalog on the YouTube, I've got something like 600 videos. If you go through those, you'll see that there are collections of courses or tutorials that have made it a course. What I'm going to be doing is taking them off of public access, putting them on this as paid access. And then once that's done, I can then build new courses and whatnot. But something that has also happened this year is the single tutorials. And I really got into that probably in the last month or so, where 2 months or so, when I got sponsored by Cloudways for producing some Laravel videos. So Laravel is a topic that I haven't really been playing with on How to Code Well much, but actually it's certainly helping me out from a career point of view, because as a contractor, sometimes I get asked, do you know Laravel? And my CV is pretty much all Symfony and other bits of frameworks, Drupal and Magento and whatnot. There wasn't really anything on there that stuck out as a Laravel thing. So when Cloudways was like, you can build whatever you want, just mention the Cloudways platform and do it in a very non-salesy way, I jumped on that and we built some really awesome Laravel tutorials, which taught me a lot to do with Laravel. But coming up, there's going to be some tutorials around the middleware of Laravel, and I have these scheduled up coming, will be published in January, but they are, or later next year, but they are available now for YouTube members and Patreons. So we have, this is the Patreon site here, excuse me. So we've got how to log in without a login form. So that's pragmatically logging in with Laravel. And then we have edit requests in the Laravel middleware. So this is how to use the middleware to manipulate the Laravel requests. And then under that, we have how to use Laravel middleware groups to group your routes into certain middleware classes, or to harness those middlewares for certain groups, and then how to exclude routes from the middleware. That's pretty fun. But in the members only videos of the YouTubes here, we have those three, but then we've got all sorts of different tutorials that make up the courses that I mentioned earlier. So for example, all of the Linux Bash for Beginners course tutorials are in here, all 15. We then have all of the MySQL PHP tutorials, the PHP CLI tutorials, the HTML for Beginners, the PHP String course, the Docker course, and the PHP Control Structures course. These are all available for YouTube membership. And these are also available to purchase singly on the howtocodewell.net website. So this is what I'm striving to achieve, is to remove the courses from the YouTubes, put them as either membership or Patreon, so they will be Patreon, YouTube membership, and howtocodewell.net. So whether you want to support the show through Patreon, or whether you want to buy YouTube membership because you're interested in YouTube member-only chat on the live podcasts and you want some of these courses, or if you just want to buy a course on howtocodewell.net, that's cool. The future of howtocodewell.net is a little uncertain. I mean, I have some ideas as to what I want to do, but in terms of uncertainty, it's when this is going to happen. But one thing I would like to do is create a members section, and have subscriptions. So you can subscribe on a monthly basis and you would get all of the content that I've just mentioned, plus any new content coming through. Also, what I would love to have is a forum where I can actually build up the community. I want to kind of move away slightly from Discord. Discord's okay, but it would be nice to have forums where I can actually create forum boards specifically for the courses. And then when you log in, it will know which course that you've purchased, which means that it gives you access to those forum boards, those kind of things. There's also other things that I want to do around recommendations of content and courses. But with howtocodewell.net, we also have articles. So these are articles that are related to programming and software development and web development, but they don't necessarily teach you tutorial in the same sense as, you write this code and this happens. This is more a discussion. So we're talking about like video explainers or article explainers. So what is a database schema? What is a database? What is a DVCS? Understanding the programming landscape. And I have probably got until about midway through February the content that I want to push through. I predict that next year is going to be very busy, both on the contracting front and also in the life front. So I've been working really hard to try and get all of this content packaged up and then ready to be scheduled out. And when it goes through the quality control checks, like proofreading and the thumbnails get updated and the titles get tweaked, it's at that point that I will put them out to members, and then I will schedule them to go publicly live. So it's like this hamster wheel, essentially. But I enjoy doing it, so that's cool. So the last year, let's go back to what happened last year. The contracting space went very quiet. For a long period of time, I decided to basically ignore it because it was so quiet. And I knew that if I was to keep chasing job adverts, the few job adverts that I had, I would probably end up being quite depressed because the contracting space was very quiet. But I'm now looking for more work at the start of 2025 at least. So hopefully that will pick up. But in terms of the reviews, How to Code Well also has premium access now on Twitter, which is pretty cool. So I can put some of this stuff up I can tweet some of this stuff out, the videos, which is pretty epic. And there was a lot of writing. We did a lot of writing, both of articles, and I'm trying desperately to get better at actually script writing. At the moment, I'm just basically making stuff up. Oh, it's not making stuff up. I'm talking from memory. But when we start talking about the what's happening in 2025 in terms of web development and the potential trends and predictions, I've actually got a very big script that I'm going to read from. And I think that is going to be the distinction between 2025 and 2020 and 2024 and before in terms of content, is that I'm actually now starting to write scripts, which is a bit weird because sometimes I just like to run my mouth off like I'm doing right now. But actually having your ideas written down is a really great way to think about what it is that you want to say, how you want to say it, and also the tone in which you want to say it too. Last year, I also wrote probably 3/4 of a book, so an ebook. So I've got something like I think it was or 23,000 words book that I'm yet to publish, and I wouldn't mind doing that in 2025, publishing that out. So there was been an awful lot of writing in 2024, and basically just trying to get my mind straight. And it's been interesting. So hopefully I can push that through into 2025. And recently, I've been using Trello as a means of planning the content, which I think is going to help tremendously, especially when I'm busy with contract work, because then of course what you've got is you've got a list of content that you've got available to you that needs to be pushed out. Maybe some of that content needs thumbnails, some of that content needs titles, some of it needs proofreading, some of it may even need to be recorded. And so I've got like a pool of content that I can pick from and go, okay, that's gonna go out today, or that's gonna go out this week. but it needs this and this and this. And so I can use Trello as a means to prioritize those things. So on things like lunch breaks and in evenings and perhaps even on weekends, I can actually start planning for the content of the following week based on the pool of content that I've already created in the past 3 months, which is pretty awesome. And Trello is such a great way of organizing all of that stuff. As you know, I use Jira to plan the features of howtocodewell.net, and that's really cool. But to be honest, Jira is far complicated, too complicated to actually plan content. It's great to plan tickets of bugs and features and all of that, sprints and all of that stuff. But in terms of content, Trello is fantastic. So I've started using that, and we've got columns such as, well, the typical to-do column, but we've also broken that up into like what has been published, what hasn't been published, what needs a thumbnail, what needs a title, and it goes through almost like a Kanban type thing. So as soon as it gets to the right, and the best thing with Trello I've found is the labels and also the checklists, right? So you can actually create a checklist. So I have a checklist now of what a tutorial needs, what an article needs, what a course needs for it to actually be finished and ready and available to either the members, the Patreons, or public, which is great. So I'm hoping that 2025 I'm going to be a little bit more organized going forward. And like I said, I think I have between January and February, I think I'm good in terms of content right now, which is great, and I want to keep pushing that. So we're going to probably do a lot of Laravel. I've also got some Python in the works. I'm thinking about doing some Symfony stuff next year as well, some tutorials on that too, and maybe even I've got a course that I need to finish off with the Symfony stuff. So there's all sorts of bits and pieces, and it was getting a little bit overwhelming, as you can probably imagine. It was kind of like, because I didn't have Trello or any kind of means of organizing, I had all of these piles of unfinished projects. But now I'm hoping to line these all up and actually be able to put these out and be a little bit more productive next year, rather than swimming in a sea of half-baked things. Anyway, so that was my year in review. It's been fun. It's been great. And I'm looking forward to next year. Let's talk about some trends that I'm thinking are either going to happen or not going to happen in 2025. This is what I want to talk about today. The trends, the predictions, the web development landscape. What does it look like in 2025? Let me take a little sip of my drink before I jump in. Okay, so let's bring my notes over here so I can actually see them. Okay, let us take a look at what will be trending in web development in 2025. I have 5 things to talk about. The first one is about artificial intelligence. I personally do not believe that artificial intelligence will be as exciting to developers as it was when it was first released. So artificial intelligence will no longer be exciting to developers. There is no denying that artificial intelligence has made a huge impact to the creation of videos, images, and stories, but for us developers, the progression of artificial intelligence into programming seems to have slowed to a crawl. For all the hype of handing over our jobs to non-human developers, where applications are built using bug-free code, we are left with nothing more than a glorified Clippy that occasionally provides half-sensible code snippets. ChatGPT-3 was a huge leap into the future, but the rate of progression since then has slowed. The feeling of breaking new frontiers on each revision of ChatGPT has stagnated. AI will certainly continue to improve, but the impact on how web developers, or just developers in general, build applications will hardly be seen. Developers will be plugging existing AI engines into web applications and altering page responses based on the output of AI results. A developer's job won't be at risk let me read that again. Developers will be plugging existing AI engines into web applications and altering page responses based on the output of AI results. A developer's job won't be at risk as many once thought, and a developer will be able to harness the power of AI to filter documentation and be offered code assistance when needed, but nothing more. Artificial intelligence for developers has hit a feature ceiling, and websites built with AI will still need a human developer to improve, test, and fix it. So let's pull this apart, shall we? So there is no denying that artificial intelligence has made a huge impact to the creation of videos, images, and stories. Yes, that is perfectly true, right? So we have got interesting, fascinating AI generation of videos, scary videos actually, where it's showing people saying things that they didn't even say or acting in a way that they didn't even act. We have videos that are generating films there, or movies or TV. We've got images that are being created of fantastic landscapes and all sorts of weird creations coming out of people's minds, or coming out of the AI mind, to be fair. And also writing stories and being able to summarize long, boring documents. AI can do all of that. It's fantastic. In fact, I've been using Grok a lot with the X Premium, Twitter Premium, to summarize certain parts of some of the articles that I've been writing. So, you know, this is my thoughts, summarize it, that kind of stuff, which has been really good. I mean, I haven't been copying and pasting the responses from Grok, but it's been great to actually kind of guide me into certain ideas that I didn't have, and maybe learn. And I've been using it to learn a lot. So reading documentation, summarizing the documentation for me. Excuse me. So we had this massive hype train, right? And everyone was saying, oh, you know, developers, we're all going to lose our jobs because Deno's out, and because there's things now that can write code for us, and we just have to ask a chat bot to build us a website and it'll do it. And yeah, I must admit, for the first part, that was a little bit terrifying, and it was like, oh, great. Especially when the contracting market was so quiet, and I could see this on the horizon. I could see, like, oh, my job's now going to be taken over. That was my first reaction. But then really, when I started thinking about all of the stuff that I had worked on in the past, it was all upgrades or migrations, or adding new features to an existing site, or rebuilding something that other developers had worked on, or doing all sorts of interesting projects like ecom and fintech, and where it was very nuanced, and you really needed to understand the business logic, the expectations and the requirements, the specification, and the project history. And I'm sorry, but AI can't do it. It can't do it all. It can't do all of it. There is not going to be, in my knowledge, there hasn't been any company that I've ever worked for where they've gone, we'll get AI to do this, or they've shared sensitive documentation that they would share to human developers to AI. They wouldn't do it. So yeah, I'm sorry, but this is just pure and utter BS. So the handing over our jobs to developers, no. What may happen is that people will learn using AI, and this is a double-edged sword, because you can either rely upon AI with the responses coming back and then not really learn what AI has given you. That's not good. or you can actually use AI as a means of summarizing and discovery. And if you can do that, then that, you're harnessing the power of another teaching aid, which is great. So it's going to probably affect juniors than it will seniors, in my opinion. And then when I say developers will be plugging existing AI engines into web applications and altering page responses based on the output of AI results, I mean that there's going to be companies that have been developed that have these AI engines that offer some form of public access or private access, where we can hook in using, say, APIs to return a series of results that the website then displays to the user, and it will be very personalized. But the actual AI engine will be one of these things that will probably be either off the shelf or open source. The developer of the website itself probably won't be building that. They'll be taking that solution that has already been made in a generic manner and then tailoring it for the client. That's probably how things are going to be. So a developer's job won't be at risk anymore, as many once thought, and the developer will be able to harness the power of AI to filter documentation and be offered code assistance when needed, but nothing more. So in terms of code assistance, yes, I do see all of these things being added to, Copilot, and we got VS Code extensions and all of that jazz, and chatbots that can produce React bits and pieces. But really, in terms of customizing that, tailoring it to the client's needs, there's still going to need to be a human developer to do that. And again, as I mentioned, in order to allow a non-human developer to build a feature for a client, the non-human developer needs to understand the context of the requirements of the specifications that the clients have. And that requires a lot of intelligence that needs to be handed over, some IP as well, that needs to be handed over to the non-human developer, the AI engine. And I just haven't seen that with clients. They're not giving over their roadmaps to these AI developers. So artificial intelligence for developers has hit a feature ceiling, in my opinion, and websites built using AI will still need a human developer to improve and test and fix it. So yeah, I don't think we're going to see anything massive in the developer space. We're certainly going to see things in the consumer space with AI, but in terms of developers, I think that we've hit we've hit the feature ceiling. So yeah, okay, AI can perhaps analyze our code and make it look better and maybe more efficient and all of that stuff. But in terms of worrying about user requirements, I don't think we're worried. We're there yet, and I don't think we will be. The next one, consumers will demand voice search. So voice search is the thing that I reckon is going to happen, or one of the things that I reckon is going to happen in 2025. A voice search. We saw a bunch of this coming through in 2024, 2023, but I think now, especially with the move of electric vehicles, where we can ask Siri whilst driving. I send text messages through voice chat whilst driving. That's awesome. And it's usually like I'm coming home, or I've just arrived, or parking up, that kind of stuff, right? But in terms of searching for things as well, I'm not saying we should do that whilst driving, of course. that's just dangerous. But in terms of searching, voice search is definitely going to be the new kid on the block, I feel, especially with all of these IoT devices that are currently floating about in everybody's bedrooms and rooms, where we can literally talk to some AI and just say, ask any kind of question, or search for specific products. So instead of, and I think this is going to be more conversational. So instead of saying something like, here are the results, and I've sent these to your mobile phone, they can actually have a conversation with you, where you can actually respond back to the AI. And essentially what you're doing is you're using a chatbot in the background, but it's voice, and it can understand your voice, and it can analyze websites and process the content in natural language. And I think that's going to be awesome. So let's read this. So where number 2, if a website has a search bar and can be accessed on a mobile or IoT device, the users of that website will start to expect voice search. Website content will require optimizing for natural language, and the rise of voice search may require additional tools or even improved HTML tags and attributes. In the same way a website can be optimized for page readers, a website will be tailored for voice output. The search bar will also need to interpret incoming voice requests and translate them into actual queries in real time. So I think this is going to be so big that we're going to actually change the way we write our websites. So our content now becomes more optimized for some voice to read the content that we've got on the website, and also read, say, the alt tags of images. I think this is going to certainly improve accessibility, and I think that searching a website is the idea of searching a website using text will become searching a website using voice, will become as straightforward as searching a website through text. I feel where we see the microphone symbol on search bars, that's going to be standard, and it's just going to be expected that you can go onto a website on Chrome or Safari and basically talk to it, and it will return a voice back with your results and filter the website based on your results. And I think that we probably need to alter the way in which the HTML is that, maybe we need some more HTML tags to say that this part of the content is what the voice can actually talk and read, whilst this content is not voice search optimized. Maybe something a bit like that. Maybe where there's going to be some JavaScript frameworks or libraries involved in this. I hope, though, it's going to be mostly on the HTML side of things. But this is, I think, going to be one of the biggest things coming in 2025 in a bigger way than it currently is, and that is voice search. The third prediction is that no code and low code will create more jobs for coders. So the rise in no-code and low-code platforms has enabled applications to be generated with ease, which is great for people with big ideas but small budgets. The three problems an application will face when it relies on the foundations of code or no-code solutions is scalability, customization, and extensibility. At scale, the no-code or low-code platform may start to become quite costly, because usually there is like a subscription or some form of buy-in where it gets more expensive the more traffic it receives. Excuse me. The platform will have set boundaries, and the application will be forced to fit within the defined walls of its ecosystem. This may make it difficult to utilize and interact with third-party systems. So these low-code and no-code solutions, they're often an ecosystem where you can communicate to certain tools and whatnot. Some have their own marketplace where you can say, oh, I want to interact with that API, or I want to interact with this thing. And they give you a way of doing it. But it's when you want to go beyond those boundaries and maybe communicate to something completely different, maybe an open source piece of information, maybe an API in the third party, in the open source space. When it gets to that point, things can get a bit difficult in terms of the boundaries that you're working within, the confines that you're in. Of course, these issues only become apparent when the application reaches a certain scale or requires a feature that can only be found outside of the platform. Sometimes these are never concerns of the application, and it can work happily within the platform. It's when the application outgrows the no-code or low-code platform that coders are asked to migrate or improve upon these foundations. This will generate jobs for coders and web agencies who hire freelancers and contractors. So this is throwing no shade on the low-code stuff, right? I love it. I love the fact that we are enabling people to build things without having high levels of technical knowledge. I think that is wonderful. I think that's fantastic, and it's certainly driving a market in that space. However, those solutions can only go so far, and when it gets to a point where you've reached scale or you need to come out of the boundaries of those platforms, it's at that point when us coders get asked to step up and migrate the content and the code from these low-code solutions into something completely different. And actually, it was not this year, but last year, 2023 and 2022, and also 2021. I was been working heavily on migrations, where we were migrating things from not low-code solutions, but just migrating things from framework A to framework B, or moving data from one database to another database, or something like that. So this isn't just for low-code and no-code platforms. The idea of contractors working within the migration space isn't anything new at all. But the low-code, no-code solutions are something that I think will drive work to us coders. And I think that's fantastic. That's great. And I'm all here for it. Okay, number 4, chatbots will become the new search bar. These annoying chatbot pop-ups that offer you help by pretending to be a human will eventually evolve into the next revision of the humble search bar. Customers will be treating search queries in the same manner as interacting with a chatbot. Search results will be tailored to the given requests, and additional advice or guidance will be offered as the user interacts with the search bar. So, usually, the search bar is, I'm going to search for something, right? So for example, I'm searching for a job. I want to search for PHP jobs. But actually, these the traditional searches where you might have a bunch of options that you tick. I want this to be a remote job. I want this to be a contracting job. They're still going to be there, but I think in the future they're going to change to be more of a conversational piece, and this goes together very well with the voice search as well. So if this could be voice search as well, that would be cool. But it's going to be more of I'm looking for this job and it needs to be remote and it needs to be this long and it needs to be in this industry. And I think that it's going to be more of a conversation. And I think the results are going to be far more personalized to the person, which leads me on to the next thing, the last one, which is artificial intelligence will personalize the web. Websites will become more personalized based on captured user history, and content will be recommended and tailored to the user based on artificial intelligence insights. The more a person uses a website, the more personalized it will become. This behavior will be similar to how social media sites offer content to their users based on previous engagements. This will have a huge impact to e-commerce platforms who can tailor shopping experiences to the individual users based on previous or similar consumer behavior. Off-the-shelf AI recommendation engines will be created for the purpose of offering tailored results and user interactions. Developers will be able to plug in these engines into existing websites using APIs. Some developers will also be working to build and improve these engines, and some engines will become open source. Okay, so let's pull this apart a little bit. So a website will become more personalized based on the captured user history and its content. The content will be recommended to the user based on the history and the previous engagements that user has had. This means that the user engagements are going to be probably pushed into some form of AI engine, and the AI engine is going to come back with the various parts of content that can be recommended to the user. And the more you use your application, the more customized and personalized the website will be. So for example, let's take howtocodewell.net, for example. You may not care about Linux. You may not care about Docker. You may want to just focus on PHP. And if my website knew that, then it wouldn't offer you Linux Bash for beginners or the Docker for beginners course. You may not even be interested in the podcast, so it wouldn't show you the podcast. It would show you something else instead. If it knows that perhaps you've purchased the PHP courses and perhaps you've watched the Laravel tutorials, then it will be giving you those more than all the other bits. And occasionally it will offer you the podcast to see whether or not you're interested in that, or if there is a podcast that it is aware of that has some form of content that is related to the content that you've previously engaged with, then that will be offered to you. But it's not going to be just a linear, here is, from episode 1 to 10, and then the next page, 11 to 20. It won't be like that. It'll be more personalized and tailored to you. Think of the Netflix homepage. Think of the YouTube homepage, where the content that is given to you is based upon your previous user experiences. And I think this is going to happen to so many websites. So many websites are now going to be very different to different users based on the way in which they use the sites, the way in which they engage with the sites. And I think that we're seeing these on the big sites at the moment, but I think 2025, we're going to see recommendations engines coming online where the sites are going to be more tailored towards the user experience. And I think this is just going to be an epic part of e-commerce, because imagine being on a website which you go to frequently. So for example, I play a lot of Warhammer, right? So I paint Warhammer models. There are certain armies that I don't care about, right? And there are certain things that I do care about. So when I'm on the Games Workshop website or the Warhammer website, if they could show me the stuff that I'm more interested in and show me less of the stuff that I'm not interested in, I'm all for that. Think of Amazon as well. Maybe with the Amazon, it's offering you products that other people who have perhaps had similar shopping baskets to you have also bought, or someone has purchased this product before and they've also bought this other additional thing. So perhaps you're more likely to purchase that. Again, this is already happening, but for the bigger sites, the Amazons of the world, the Netflixes of the world. But I think now we're going to see something happening for the smaller sites. And I think, again, this is going to drive more work for developers, contractors, freelancers, because these open source or maybe private solutions of these recommendation engines are going to come online. And the AI, where everyone says AI, this is built with AI, this is just going to be the thing. This is just going to be normal now. So people, I think, are going to require voice search. Chat bots are going to be a distant memory, and they're just going to become they're going to evolve. The search bar is just going to evolve into chat, and the content of a website is going to be more personalized. So in conclusion, web development in 2025 can be summed up in one word: search. The way users interact with websites will change as artificial intelligence solutions will be packaged into plug-and-play engines that developers can use on... Let me read this again, because I've gone and spoilt that. So web development in 2025 can be summed up in one word, and that is search. The way users interact with websites will change as artificial intelligence solutions will be packaged into plug-and-play engines that developers can use to tailor search results and website behavior. Chatbots will seamlessly merge into search bars that utilize voice search, and websites will become more personalized. Low and no-code solutions will continue to play a major part in application development, and in some cases, this will drive more work for developers. That is my 2025 set of predictions. So, I will review this in 2025 and see if any of this actually has made any sort of waves. But yeah, I do believe that we are seeing the slowdown of AI in the dev world. We're going to see it pick up in the consumer world, and I do believe that search is going to be something that every website is going to be more focused on. The way in which we search for things is going to change with voice search. The way in which we're using chatbots now is going to be a thing of the past. It's no longer going to be this silly little pop-up that comes up. It's going to be now integrated into the search bar itself. And I do believe that the low-code, no-code stuff is going to generate us more work in the future, in the long run, which I think is a win. A lot of developers hate the low-code, no-code stuff, but actually I think it's pretty cool. And AI is going to just change the way in which the content of a site is actually displayed, and the consumers aren't even going to be aware of this. They're just going to be more guided to the new content based on the content that they've previously engaged with, which I think is fantastic. So web development in 2025 is so exciting. I cannot wait for it. If you've got any thoughts on this, if you've got any other suggestions, then do let me know in the comment section below, because of course the YouTube podcast is now going to be public, so you don't have to wait until it's now a members thing. So if you've got any thoughts, please put it down in the comment section below. If you disagree with me as well, hey, let's have a discussion in the comment section. Thank you ever so much for watching. I have got some Yule logs to bake, and I think something else to bake as well today. I've got some presents to wrap, and just getting generally into the Christmas spirit. I'm so pleased that the doggies didn't make any form of noise today. Although that's a bit disconcerting, because today I've got some deliveries that need to be had, and they usually bark on that. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. Happy coding, everyone, and I'll see you again next week for the next episode of the podcast. Happy coding. Cheers. Bye-bye.